If you're considering Santorini for your next holiday, there's a few things to think about. The main one being, do you really need to go to Santorini? Hi, we're the Midlife Crisis Couple, and we've been busy planning a full-on midlife crisis adventure. Until we actually take the plunge and quit work to go travelling, you won't see us on camera, but you'll find some basic videos and reviews of our travel destinations before we start our proper vlog. For now, please like, comment and subscribe so you can keep an eye on what we're doing. We promise when we finally get started, it will be an adventure. Santorini was always on the list of places we wanted to visit. We absolutely love the Greek islands, so it was a fairly obvious one we had to do. We were slightly worried it would be a bit too Instagram, but we still wanted to go and get the classic caldera pics of the white buildings with the blue domes on top. If you don't know what the caldera is, keep watching, we'll go through that later. If you watch some of the other reviews, you'll find there's quite a lot of negativity around about Santorini at the moment, but we wanted to try and give a really honest, balanced review so you can decide whether to spend your hard-earned money on a trip to Santorini. Some of our favourite memories of our week in Santorini were actually just the sunrise and sunsets. Both were incredible, but despite what travel agents will tell you, you really don't need to be in Fira or Ia to see them. Best sunrises we saw were in Kamari, which is obviously to the east, and the sunsets were from around Megalochori. So we've come here for sunset. If you look around this way, we're about to be blinded by the sun, but there is the sun, so we'll get a good view of the sunset. But there's also this random little cave. How much would you have to be paid to go in there? So Megalochori is on the west side of the island, a little bit south of Fira, and from there you get to see the sunset on the caldera rather than just from the caldera. So at this point, just to explain briefly what the caldera is, it's basically the cliff face that's the whole west side of the island. So it's like this because Santorini was created by a volcano which apparently erupted about 3,600 years ago. Another favourite memory from the trip was actually the outdoor cinema at Kamari. It's just not something we'd really gone to before. We both absolutely loved the experience. We watched the massively obvious Mamma Mia, but hey, when in Rome. It was such a lovely way to spend an evening. If you do go, be aware you need to get there about half hour before the doors open to get a good seat, and they do only take cash on the door and at the bar, so make sure you've got plenty with you. We're really big fans of Greek food, and the classics like moussaka, souvlaki, Greek salads, etc. are all great, as you'd absolutely expect. But to be honest, I'm not sure you need so many carbon copies of Greek restaurants in a row, offering honestly little to no difference to their neighbours. We stopped and looked at all the menus, and they really did just kind of seem to be exact copies of each other. Mostly really, really nice people, but the more aggressive ones as well did get a little bit much trying to drag you into their restaurants. Many of the restaurants and actually the bars along the beach at Kamari also offer free sunbed use, which was quite nice. You do need to obviously buy food and drink from them though, and as you'd expect, you pay slightly over the odds for that. Understandably, there's also kind of a minimum level of expectation of what you buy and how often, so just be aware. And this brings us on to beaches in general. So don't go to Santorini if you're a beach lover. The beaches are very limited due to it being a volcanic island, and the ones there are black stone which you certainly cannot build sandcastles in and you don't really want to walk on. The main ones though are at Kamari and Parissa, although you do then get the very imaginatively titled Black Beach, Red Beach and White Beach on the west side of the island, but they're really not particularly easy to access and they're still the same volcanic rock and stones anyway. Much like the restaurants we've already mentioned, the shops seem to be a lot of carbon copies of tourist shops selling very, very similar items at pretty high prices. Obviously we understand people want certain types of souvenirs, but do you really need 10 shops in a row selling exactly the same things? A bit of variety would go a long way, and I'm sure they would sell more. Speaking of shops, we found everything in Fira and Ia particularly way overpriced in our opinion. That included supermarkets, tourist shops, restaurants, bakeries, everything. If you're happy paying 50% over what you should just because you're on the caldera, then so be it, but really do be aware. The rest of the island I didn't fear was as bad, but you're probably still looking at maybe 20% over any of the other Greek islands we've been to. So as long as you're sensible though, you're not going to get ripped off. That said, if what's important to you is a posh meal on the caldera watching the sunset, there is no escaping the cost, which in case we haven't been clear enough, will be pretty high. Ironically, I bet you thought one thing we'd be quite negative about was the crowds of people you might have seen on other reports. It is something we were worried about before we went. And if you go to the busy places at peak times, of course you're going to share that place with a lot of people. But actually, if you're smart about when you go to certain places, we really didn't have an issue with it. An early morning trip to Fira is beautiful. Maybe at lunchtime it might not be quite so good. As mentioned before though, we stayed in Kamari, so we could easily escape the crowds, but if you do stay in the centre of Fira or Ia, maybe you'd struggle to escape them. I did just want to say a quick word about the donkeys in Fira. I've absolutely no idea how on earth this is still allowed. For an animal lover, it's really quite upsetting to see them dragging themselves and their passengers up the steps to Fira. I'm speechless that people are so unaware of what they're putting the animals through, but really don't want to dwell on it, so I will just say if you do go, please don't use them. Hopefully the practice will stop very soon. On a much happier animal note, there do seem to be quite a few nice, cute, friendly cats that seem to have a great instinct for whether you're an animal lover or not. They can spot a mad cat lady with a packet of Dreamies a mile off, but if you ignore them, they'll ignore you. If you do want to feed them or interact with them, they seem perfectly happy to play. Do be a little bit wary though, despite their friendliness, they are street cats, so can be a little bit temperamental and do probably carry a few bugs. A quick word about hotels on the island. So our hotel and the others we looked at were all actually of a really good quality and very clean. Probably a better general standard than others on other Greek islands we've visited. I think this probably stems from a more demanding customer on Santorini and therefore increased levels of expectation. Again though, this quality is reflected in the price. The cost of you being able to get that one Instagram photo of you sitting in your infinity pool overlooking the caldera is honestly astronomical in our opinion and just not worth it. We actually chose to stay in Kamari away from all the crowds and I'm really glad we did. What's the best way to get around the island? Depends a lot on your budget and personal preference, but your main options are going to be taxis, buses, car, quad or bike hire, or of course walking. The taxis and tour guides are very expensive, but they are the most convenient. The buses are cheap, but quite busy and not really always on time. They all go through Fira, which is fine if you're staying in or want to go directly to Fira, but otherwise it's a bit of a faff and I'd always be nervous of missing the last bus back to your resort as they can be quite busy, especially in the evenings. If you're on Santorini for a while, they'd still probably be quite a good bet though, but if you're not here for long, you don't really want to waste too much time messing around with changing buses. In that case, car or quad hire is probably the best option, with plenty of places to choose from, and the island's actually really easy to navigate. There's no need to book ahead of time for those places either, just go and speak to one of the friendly family-run businesses rather than booking through Europcar or anyone like that before you arrive. You'll get a much better price. Or alternatively, as long as you're not there in July or August when it's just too hot, you can actually walk a lot of the island. The paths are generally good, there's plenty of little shops you'll pass for water and ice creams on the way, but as I said, don't try it in the peak of summer, it's just too hot. Speaking of the weather, it's obviously one of the big draws to the island, so we can't exactly complain about the heat. We visited in early July and it was hot. Most days probably over 36 degrees. I think it's genuinely the first time in my life I've not seen a cloud for a full week. It was so hot even the birds were taking advantage of our pool. It really didn't cool down much at night either. We passed a thermometer outside a pharmacy at about 5 AM when we got up for sunrise and it was still 29 degrees. So do make sure your hotel has aircon and just be prepared. Basic things like when you go out for a walk, take plenty of water. It's not rocket science. So what can we say about the people on Santorini? Well, I've got a feeling this may be a slightly contentious point, but we can only say as we found. Like everywhere, there's good and bad. The good is that everyone we met was lovely, very welcoming, very happy to take our tourist money. The bad we found is that despite having many conversations about it, I didn't meet anyone who was actually born on or lives on Santorini. Everyone we asked was part of the tourist industry and only comes there for the season, returning home with their takings at the end of the year. Now I know everyone needs to make a living, so I'm not knocking it, but if you think you're spending money and supporting Santorinians, if that's a word, you're unfortunately probably not. A small caveat to that point, we didn't literally ask every single person we met, but it was my go-to small talk question, so I did ask quite a lot of people. I also suspect the car hire place was a family-run business, and they may have been from Santorini, but they were really busy, so I didn't chat to them much. Time to score the midlife crisis points. Weather. 5 out of 5 here. If you want guaranteed over 30 degrees in the summer, it's perfect. You can't go wrong with any of the Greek islands. Food. 3 out of 5. Good standard Greek food, but really lacking in variety. Beaches. 2 out of 5. So they were clean, but no sand, and definitely no sand castles, unfortunately. Shops, also 2 out of 5. Expensive and lacking variety. People, 3 out of 5. Everyone was really nice, but very few, if any, locals. Transport, 4 out of 5. Strong score there. Lots of options and easy to navigate around the island. Unspoilt by tourism. Unfortunately, 2 out of 5. I really wish this wasn't the case, but Instagram has undoubtedly had a negative impact on the island. And finally, cost gets 3 out of 5. As already mentioned, it's a little pricey compared with other Greek islands, but as long as you go knowing that, you'll be fine. So this gives us a total Midlife Crisis score of 24 out of 40. If you agree, or even disagree, please do comment below. To sum up, we absolutely loved our week on Santorini, and I'm really glad we went. You can't argue it's a stunning place. But, and it is a big but, if you're choosing between Santorini and a multitude of other Greek islands, I honestly believe there's better, cheaper, less busy and more worthy options. However, if you've been to all the other islands and Santorini is still on your list, then please don't let us put you off. We'll be looking at some of the other Greek islands we've visited very soon, so please subscribe now to get a notification when we publish them. If you've got any questions, please do comment below and we'll do our best to answer them. Thanks so much for watching.